Hello, podcasters.
Hello.
I am Anastacia Gabrielle Flores, and I am the host for the Vulnerable podcast. I'm very excited to be doing this today with my best friend, Paige Carter, who happens to be a four-time national finalist in the NAIA for swimming. Subtle flex.
Yeah.
I mainly wanted to talk to Paige about just her passion and finding her passion for swim, being her best friend. I see how motivated she is for the sport, and I just feel like personally, the two main things that you need in life to find are just like your passion and your person, and I feel that she's truly found her passion. And I just wanted to know, for you with swimming, like, how did you realize that was yours, and how did you go about finding it? And
yeah, there's a really big story that goes along with this, actually. So I started swimming when I was 10 years old, and that's honestly late for a swimmer because you hear people who are like, oh, I've been swimming since I was 5, since I was 4, even 3 years old. But yeah, I found swimming through actually hating to swim. And so ever since I was a little girl, like age 3 to 8, I was terrified of water. I wouldn't go in a pool, in the ocean, past my knees. I was just terrified of drowning. But so the crazy story is that I was at tennis practice one day. At the time, I was doing tennis, and the facility is a swim and tennis center. And after practice, I was waiting for my mom to come pick me up, and I was just watching the swimmers, and out of the blue, I just told my mom, hey, I want to do swimming. And she was like, you want to do what? You're terrified of water.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to do it. And that's what also I think has to tie in with finding your passion, is going out of your comfort zone to find it. Because even though you may not find it at the time, you could just be like, well, you know what? I went out of my comfort zone. I tried it. I liked it, or I didn't like it. And that's, for me, is a huge step in someone's life. But yeah, so I tried out. I faced my fear. And ever since then, since I was 10, I have not stopped. And I'm now 21 years old, a senior in college.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, it has been a crazy, wild, and just such a fun road for me throughout my entire life.
And it's crazy that at 10 years old, you made that distinction of like, hey, I'm scared of this, but I'm going to go ahead and try it anyway. That is such a Leo thing of you to do.
Right?
Paige is like the ultimate Leo. Like, constantly pushing me to be vulnerable and try new things. And I really appreciate that in a friend. So
yes, Scorpios need that.
They're like, is this a zodiac? Like,
no,
you got to put it in there somewhere.
Yeah, we gotta tie it in somehow.
But yeah, I don't know. I've always been blown away by your story, because it's just, didn't mean to,
it's just
found
crazy.
it. And also, for you, how did you find out that, or make that realization that swimming stuck out to you more than, say, ballet? Or I know you were doing a lot of sports at the time. What made you fall in love with swimming?
Oh, yeah. I think swimming is just, it's a wild sport, and not a lot of people know about it. Like, it's a typical baseball, basketball kind of deal.
Right,
but, and people are always like, swimming is just an individual sport. And at the same time, I'm like, it's not. It's really not, because you do. You're racing yourself, but you're also racing the people around you. But you're not like, oh, who am I going to throw the ball next? Who am I going to throw the ball to next? But swimming is like, you're racing by yourself. You're focusing on you. You're focusing how I'm going to get to the wall. But at the same time, you're at the meet with your team, and they're supporting you. They're cheering for you. And that's what I love about swimming, is that you get to do the sport. You get to race yourself. Like, you're doing it on your own. But when you have the support from your teammates who are cheering for you, who are trying to get you motivated for your next race, it's like you get the best of both worlds. You get individuality, and then you get your teammates as well. And I just think that's why I fell in love with it.
Right.
it's awesome. Yeah.
I know. I honestly didn't know much about swimming until I started coming to your meets and seeing it. And it really is just like all you know?
Yeah.
And how do you get in that zone when you get ready for a meet?
Oh, man. That's...
I know you send me like your playlist.
Oh, yeah. I'm always like EDM vibes. Let's go. Pump up music. Oons, oons music. But
I'm dead.
well, definitely to start off with music, that is what really gets me into my zone, honestly. When I have my headphones in, I'm waiting behind
World's out.
Yeah, I'm like, here we go. Maybe some hardcore rap. I got some EDM in there, just me. But on the outside, I'm like, no one look at me, no one talk to me. But on the inside,
Actually,
I'm like, oons, yeah, let's go. But but definitely, music has a big part of getting motivated, because when you're behind the blocks or something, once again, you're by yourself. You're thinking, you get all into your feels, or like, there's always that in the back of your head where you're like, what if I mess up? What if I false start? What if I get disqualified for a bad touch, a wrong kick? And music honestly distracts it, because I'm like, for me, when I'm behind the blocks waiting for my race, I'm like, focus on the lyrics. Don't focus on the swim part. Just be like, I'm like,
takes your mind off of it. The negative thoughts.
Yeah. And so that is a huge part. But also, going back to my teammates, every time I'm about to go swim, people always think I have like the worst events, because I'm like the mile, which is 66 laps. Yeah.
Girl.
It's rough sometimes, but I'm like, this is why I'm here.
This is what you were put on this earth to do, and you love it. Yeah.
Because there's times where I'm like, man, I don't want to swim the mile. I don't want to do 66 laps. But at the same time, like, when I'm about to go up for my race, my teammates are like, you got this in the bag, Paige. You're ready. You're going to do great. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. I'm like, I always feel just so lucky to have people there that are like, even though I'm terrified, or if I'm just not in the mood to do this, there's people there who are like, you got it. You're going to do great. And sometimes that's just what you need to hear, is someone to tell you're going to be okay. You're going to do your best. And that's what gets me through these races and meets. Just having my teammates there, and my coach. My coach is also another huge part of my swim career. My coaches, like from high school to now, my current coach has just been the best person. He gives me these hard practices, but he's always there for me. Yeah, I always feel like people are always telling me, like, man, Paige, you get the short end of the stick when you're at practice, because they're like, you get these hard, long distance practices, and we're over here doing these little mini sets. But I'm like, yeah, I do, but my coach has just been the one who motivates me. He's always like, you're going to do great. You're doing this. You're doing that. Like, he's just such a great person. And even outside of swim, he's like, if you ever need someone to talk to, if you ever have a problem with family, whatever's happening in your life, he's like, I'm not just your swim coach. I'm someone who's going to be there to support you. And I just think, like, I feel so lucky, because I'm like, going back to like swimming as my passion, I'm like, I find these connections where I'm like, yeah, he's just my coach, but he's also a mentor for me outside of life. Like, he'll ask me, because I'm graduating this semester, I'm like, oh my gosh. He's like, well, if you ever need someone as a reference, I'll be there for you. You can put me on your resume. Or he'll ask me, like, so what are you thinking of your next job? Like, what's the big deal? And like, that's what I also feel like is great when you find your passion, because it's like you have these connections with people who are just not there for that
system, that support system. And you know, it's so great when you do have that, because you know, I've noticed differences where I don't versus when I do. I mean, you completely flourish, and not a lot of people have that support system, you know?
Yeah. Because I'm like, even with you, side note, guys, Gabrielle's a great babysitter. But even when you tell me, like we both babysit, but I'm like, we like it. it's not
We
technically
do babysit. Flexible hours,
Yes.
you create your own schedule, and honestly,
we like it.
right. And I even saw on Twitter, like, people were talking about how our generation just doesn't put up with anything. And it's true. Like, I honestly didn't want a job.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like we both make, like, 10 times more babysitting
Yes.
for, like, 3 hours versus, like, sitting somewhere we don't want to be
Yes.
from, like, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Because when you see on Twitter all the time, all these memes are like me when I'm with my coworker who I don't want to be with, and it's like,
and we're also undergrad. Like,
yes.
So like, it's totally fine. Like, we have, extra time to do what we're doing. You're always busy with swim. I'm always busy with school, 22 hours
Yes.
this semester, kicking my ass.
oh my God.
You're like, no.
No way.
But she moved to Puerto Rico she didn't mean to. So she's making up time for that.
There you go.
But, yeah, I don't know. When we were talking yesterday to Blaze, it really inspired me to talk with you today, and just talking about, like, having fun. Like,
Yes.
from that, going into, like, just how it's okay to not always be working yourself. And also our society, I feel like we always feel like we need to be doing something. We need to be working constantly. And it's like, you can relax.
Yes.
Like,
and that's, going back to that with balancing swimming, school, social life, it has definitely had its downs, but once you find, like, what you're doing, you get into a routine, it's like, you can do it. Because I'm like, look, like, I don't mean to be like, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, but I'm like, yeah, I'm swimming, I'm doing 2 practices a day, I have school, I'm usually, the past years, it's been 15 hours, but this year I'm like, it's 12 hours, but
last semester, and she's a senior,
so it's that.
You deserve it.
But over the years, it's like, you just got to find a routine where it's like, okay, I'm doing this at this hour, and I'm doing this at this hour, but it's like, maybe once in a while out of that day, you can be like, okay, well, look, I have an hour right now, let's do something that I'm not really used to, or just like I've always wanted to do.
Right. We kind of set that up for ourselves for 2020. We kind of, as friends, we were just like, let's, go do things more touristy in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Or like, go to more festivals, do more things that make us happy, and just, having fun. That's what life's about.
Yeah.
Because,
it's like, even though we're like, in the back of our minds, like, say we have all these busy schedules, but we're like, oh my gosh, well, what if we go to this music festival or concert, and it's like, we're going to get back at 3 a.m., but it's like, it's like me, I have practice at 6 a.m.
Literally, Paige is such, like, just that bitch. She's like, oh, let's go out to this festival. I'm like, dude, you have practice at 6 a.m. But she's fine. Like, she's like, I'm still going, like, still killing it. Like, literally, Blaze yesterday was like, dude, you kill it every time. Like, you don't even, like, try. It's just, you're good at it. Like, swim is your thing, for sure.
Definitely. And then that's, like, the other thing is, I'm like, I have these big responsibilities. But I'm like, at the same time, I feel like maybe not as a freshman, I wouldn't be doing that.
Right.
Because it's brand new. School, college swimming's brand new. And it's like, you got these big responsibilities. But once you get to the end of your career as a college student or a college athlete, I feel like it's okay to, like, let go a little bit. But but in a responsible way.
Yeah.
It's like,
you got the routine down.
Yeah, you got it down.
Yeah.
You know what you're doing. And it's like, I'm going to go to a concert that starts at 1 a.m. and ends at 3 a.m. and I got practice at 6. But I'm like, I know my limits. I know what I'm going to do.
Right, knowing your limits.
Yes.
That is key right there.
It's huge because I'm like, now that I'm 21 years old, I'm like, I'm legal. I can do it. And I'm like, maybe I have a couple drinks and I'm going to this concert. But I'm like, I know I'm going to wake up, I'm going to go to practice, I'm going to put in the work, and that's that. It's like, you just got to find the balance. You got to know your limits, that you can have fun, but you can also stay in that routine. And that's what I feel like I've learned over the past years of being a college athlete. Like, my freshman year, I was like, oh, I can't go out, I can't do anything. School swimming, that's it. But then I'm like, I just had this mindset, like, each year I'm like, let go a little bit. It's like, you have some free time on your hands. You're not just this college athlete doing school, doing swimming. That's that. It's like, you got the time. You just got to find.
To give yourself like an identity besides just swimmer.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
And so definitely this year, people have been telling me they're like, you're a whole different person. You're glowing, you're living your best life. And I'm like, yeah, because I've been going out of my comfort zone and I just haven't.
Being vulnerable.
Yes. But for real, it's just been a wild road, but in such a great way. It's like, you can't be stuck up on the same stuff, I feel like. You just gotta.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
When do you think that pivotal moment was when you realized that you wanted to live your best life?
Yeah. I feel like it was definitely last year, beginning of my junior year. Because it's like I feel like that was the split point because, you've had 2 years of being like kind of a new college student, like you're brand new to this kind of routine deal. But then I feel last year, the beginning of the year, I was like, I want to do stuff that I want to do because I'm almost done, basically. I have 2 years left. And when people tell you college flies by, they're not lying. Like, they are not lying. Yeah. It goes by so quick. And I feel like you should not put restrictions on yourself those last couple years. Like, yes, I say maybe not your freshman year because you're just finding yourself. It's really hard. You're going to have tough times, but once you're in that routine where you're like, okay, I'm comfortable with myself, I'm living my life, I'm like,
right. And we're not saying to not have fun your freshman year.
Yes.
We're just saying that throughout time you kind of learn those
it goes
limits.
Naturally. Don't force it either.
Right. Yeah.
Don't ever force it. I'm like, just let it go naturally, and because people are always like saying, I just can't find myself. Like in college, you hear that all the time. People are like, I can't find myself. I'm having trouble. And it's just like, I feel like a lot of people force it. But I'm like, you got to listen to yourself. You got to be like,
right.
Well, if say like going back with swimming and work, you're like, well, I have work tomorrow, but I want to go do this. I want to go to this concert. I want to go to this event. But you're like you're pushing yourself back. You're like, well, maybe I shouldn't. Well, do it. Go for it. But you got to, once again, know your limits. You got to just find that responsibility, and that's definitely what helps.
Right.
Yeah.
I forgot what you were saying. I had a great question. I forgot it.
I know we got off on a little tangent, but in a
good
way.
I'm like, I had such a great question. Where did it go? I guess it was like swimming really gave you that structure, I guess, going back.
Yes,
going back. And I feel like whatever passion, I'm not sure if I said this in this one. We had an audio issue, so we had to restart.
Yes.
But just how swimming gave you that structure. And what is your advice, or what do you feel like your life would be like if you didn't have that structure, or advice for someone else?
Yeah, definitely. So, once again, just like swimming has just been a huge part of my life. And I feel like if I didn't have swimming, of course, I'm all about athletics. Like, I'm just an athletic girl. I love sports. I would feel like I'd be doing another sport. But at the same time, a lot of people don't know, like, how much time swimming takes out of your day, because, some people's other sports practices are like an hour, maybe. Like, swimming, you're swimming for 2 hours plus doing some lifts, putting some lifts in, getting swole. But I'm like, yeah, literally. But I feel like if I wasn't doing the swimming, I would just be, no offense to anyone out there, would just be like that normal person, like with just school or whatever. And I feel like I would not be having as much fun if I didn't have swimming. And because it's just such a, like, when you have that passion in your life for whatever you're doing and it takes a huge part out of your day, it's like, well, if I didn't have that, what would I be doing? Sitting on the couch, watching TV?
I know, it's just so aggravating because it is so important to know your passion.
Yes.
And for people that, I guess sometimes I feel like I don't have a passion, and then I'm like, especially when you're a creative person, I guess outside of athletics or whatever it may be. I'm trying to think of like other categories to put into it. I guess like music,
art,
art, whatever. It's like you feel like you have all these different thoughts and ideas and you're not really quite sure what to do with them, and that can be really overwhelming. So
yeah,
I guess if you are having problems finding your passion, being vulnerable is a big step in finding that, and that can be extremely hard, especially if you're like me. I am someone that I love to be in my little cave, and I don't really like to change up my routine and things like that, and you kind of have to. And once you make that realization, like I think this year for me is when that happened, and I just started to blossom and just stopped making things like my Capricorn rising comes out where I like to be very organized and like on schedule. But
and also I feel like when people say like they're like, oh, I don't have a passion, and this is kind of off topic, but it's like when people don't have something that they love, it's like they fall into these things where they're like, maybe I'm depressed, maybe I'm sad or lonely.
To feel something else.
And that's another thing where I feel like if I didn't have swimming, I don't have time to think of like my thoughts, where I'm like, I don't have time to go deep into my thoughts, where yes, it has its positives, but then it really does has its negatives, where it's like,
that's true.
It's like not a distraction, but it's like you're so busy doing something that you love, where it's like you don't have time to think of something that may be going wrong in your life, where it's like you're so deeply into that, where it's like you have the time to sit down and like really think like, oh, I'm depressed over this or that. And it's like, you have your passion, even whether it's art, music, your sport. It's like that's a big, it's not distraction, but it's like you're doing what you love, and it's like you don't have time to think of the bad thoughts,
Yeah.
And that's also like, that's just another thing where I'm like, if I didn't have swimming, I feel like if there was a problem in my life, I would overthink that.
It would be magnified.
Yes, that would be the one thing I'm focusing on.
That is true. It's so weird in life how we have to balance kind of everything, because, it's like, okay, I'm going to work my ass off so I don't think about anything. I have, people close to me that work tons to not think about things, and I realize that and I see that, and it's like, okay, well, then you hear someone like, oh, well, she works too much. And it's like, well, it's kind of, life is so weird.
It is.
It's like finding that happy medium, finding what you love.
Yes.
Being, like, taking gradual steps, being patient with yourself. Just, it's all going to just happen. For me, I'm a junior. I'm 21.
Yes.
And it's taken a minute to get where I am, where I'm finally like, okay, I've found it, and I've, started all these projects, and some of them didn't go the way I wanted, but it's like, try, like, whatever you're thinking of doing, try it. Paige Carter did it circa, 2004?
Yeah, whenever I was 10 years old.
Little Paigey jumped in a pool, was scared of the water, and sometimes you just have to be like Paige and just try things out.
Yes, it's just been a great road throughout, and I'm like, now it's coming to an end, my college swimming career.
What are you looking forward to after college, or what are some things you look back on that really just make you smile?
Yeah, I'm actually really excited about getting a job. I'm like, this is a huge step in my life.
Public relations
major
here.
PR and marketing, and that has just also just been a great path like throughout my college career because I was undecided my freshman year. I was like, I don't it's like maybe I want to be a nurse, and I was like, well, you suck at math, you suck at science. It's like me. Yeah, I'm like basic.
This goes to show. Yeah, me too. I was undecided until what was it? Since I transferred here after I was at UTRGV. Sophomore year, I finally figured out. What was that for you? Freshman year?
After sophomore year is when I started it.
So crazy,
mass communication, focusing public relations. And I just fell in love with it because I'm like, I cannot do math, barely can do basic math. I'm like, that's not for me. And I was like, I want to be a nurse. And I'm like, well, you cannot subtract big numbers like that. It's like, how are you going to do these?
Gotta be so cute. They forget I don't know basic math.
And so I'm like, well, my parents, this is also how I got into it. I was asking them, I was like, what should I get into? And they're like, well, you know what, Paige, you're such a people person. You love to talk to people. Mm-hmm. And they're like, you should get into public relations. You got to promote businesses. You got to promote yourself. And it's like, they're like, you're good at that. You know what you're doing. And once I started that major, I was like, I don't want to stop. This is the one for me.
Yeah.
And it's just been great because it's like you get the practice, and it just has been even, I guess, like my writing skills as well. And like PR is all about writing and promoting, and I feel like I had a little bit of trouble with that, but overall I'm like, it's been successful. Sorry, I cannot get that word out.
I didn't steer you away from it, Yeah, you still loved it, although writing and everything was a challenge. Yeah, for sure.
But it's just been great, and once I graduate, I'm like, I'm ready for this. I'm ready to start a new path. And with PR, there's so much you can do with that. Mm-hmm. Everyone needs PR, whether it's medical, sports, restaurant, hospitality businesses. Like, they all need PR. They all need promotion. And I'm like, what are my passions? Well, sports. I'm a huge foodie.
Wait, we got to plug.
Yes.
Paige has a food Instagram called That Good Food.
Yes.
And it has mainly New Orleans and Tampa, since she's from Tampa, Florida. Yes. So if you're in New Orleans or Tampa, give her a follow because she has all of the spots.
Great restaurant recommendations. But that's another thing, like after my swim career, my college career is over, I'm like, I want to get into PR for either sports, some kind of sports kind of deal, or hospitality, restaurant, hotel, because that's what I love, because I'm also a huge traveler. And it's just so cool how you can do public relations for things you love, like, because every single business needs it, and I'm ready for it. I'm excited.
I'm excited ready for this next chapter of your life.
Because I can still do something like, once again, I love sports, I love food, I love traveling. I'm like, well, now I can put my major into my passion. And I'm like, there we go.
She gave me a little side eye.
I'm like, there we go. But I'm ready for it. I'm excited.
It all ties in.
It does.
In the end.
In the end, you just got to find what you love, and it could take time. It could take a second, but it's like,
as long as you're doing something,
you're doing it.
And don't get, what's it called? I don't know the word for that. Like, don't focus on one thing or like, I have to find this one passion and this is like it for the rest of your life. Because my grandmother, that's like 60, always tells me, like, I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do when I grow up. And I'm like, you've done like a million things though, you know?
Yeah.
You constantly have different passions, and you're finding them through being vulnerable and figuring it out and just trying new things. So
exactly.
I'm very excited for you.
Thank you.
In the rest of your endeavors.
Oh, I'm excited. But thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Paige, for coming on my first episode of the Vulnerable Podcast.
Yes.
I'm super excited. And I guess really quick, just to explain myself, I really don't have to. But I just wanted to make like basically a safe, space where I could just talk with my friends, people that inspire me, people that are successful, or people that just want to talk about anything that can, ultimately help someone else. So thank you for coming on and sharing your stories with me. And thank you guys for listening. I will see you soon.
Yay.